Season 2 of 𝐬𝐿 and Ember is sponsored by 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 Creative.
What's up? I'm David Jones, and this is 𝐬𝐿 and Ember.
All right, mate. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming. I say this before every episode, but I am really excited to talk to you. And the reason that is because in you, I see a little bit of what I hope to be my future.
That's flattering.
Yeah, you are definitely blazing the trail. You are like, I think about it as I watch you kind of climb higher and higher on your own, starting your own agency. I feel like you're kind of the tip of the spear pushing for the rest of us to come behind you. So I want to give you your praises and flowers on that before we get started.
Awesome. I really appreciate that, man. Honestly, I'm surprised that anybody cares ever talking about anything. I don't think I'm all that interesting, but you told me that a couple different times, man, and I greatly appreciate that. Like it's tough to do. It's tough to go out on your own.
Yeah.
And I agree. When you see somebody else do it, it hopefully fills you with a little bit of confidence that it's doable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. So we know you're David Jones. You've introduced yourself already. Do you want to just give us a little quick spiel about who it is and who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, you bet. David Jones. I always struggle with what I am. I would say if you had to ask me what I do, I say I'm a creative director.
Okay.
But I'm a lot more than that. And this is something that I really found out, I feel like, when I left my last agency was you don't have to be one thing. And so now I'm like, I'm a business owner, man. I'm an art director. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a wannabe farmer. I'm a coach. I do all kinds of stuff. And, I think that's more interesting now. Like I spend my days almost as much of the time getting my work done for 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 and then going out and focusing on some of the other things I do and the things I like to do and some of the other businesses we set up. Currently have 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 as an advertising and design firm, Roadworthy, which is honestly more of a passion project. You probably would have called it a side hustle before, but it's funny. It doesn't feel like a side hustle now. It feels more like a passion that I turned into a job. You know, everybody says, find your passion and turn it into a career.
Yeah.
That's one of them that I feel like is totally different and has changed my mindset now and the way I work. Like, I do one thing, I get it done. I switch to the completely different mindset of a business owner and car dealer, honestly, as much as anything. So it's fun, man. It's a little bit different. I struggle when people say, what are you? What do you do? I've always been a little bit of an oddball and done a lot of different things.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that.
No, that's comforting because I feel a little bit of the same too. Like I kind of bounce around between like video and music and photography, but then like finance and investing and like entrepreneurship and all those things. So it's like hearing you say that like you don't have to be one thing and seeing you be as successful as you are is like, all right, cool. Then maybe I don't need to narrow it down. Maybe I just need to like keep doing the things that I enjoy and then like let that bring what it's going to bring, you know?
I agree. I would say keep doing what you enjoy. I always kind of go back to when I was in college. I was a college baseball player. Played in high school, played my whole life, played some independent ball after college. But I was the only athlete in the entire school in art class and design school and that entire wing of kind of the school. And it was really weird because I'd have to go to my teachers and be like, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks for this road trip. And they're like, what are you talking about? They'd never seen that before. And I just always found that kind of fascinating that I've straddled the line of like this athlete and what you expect of that. But art has always been my passion and design has always been my passion. And I couldn't give either one of those up for the other one.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why I would do that now.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes total sense. Because again, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I have all these things that interest me. And like, especially this phase I'm in right now, I think I've shared this with you. I used to play in a band, like my degrees in music. And like for probably close to 10 years now, like I've kind of set that on the shelf to pursue video and pursue my business and things like that. And it's like the gravity or the magnetism is kind of bringing me back to that. Yeah. And it's part of why I left my job to start my own agency was I wanted more control over my time.
Yep.
And now that I have that, I'm like, oh wait, I can enjoy this thing again. You know, I spent all of last year kind of grinding. Today is actually officially my 1 year anniversary since I left.
Congratulations.
So
that's awesome.
But it's like I spent all of last year grinding to like kind of set it up so I could enjoy more of my time. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, we've made it a year, like, and we're not starving. We're not dead. So it's like, maybe I can enjoy more of my time, you know?
You have these visions of like having to sell your house and
Yeah.
grow your own food in your backyard to survive, man.
Live
But
in a
that's not
box.
really it. As
Yeah.
long as you're willing to work, man,
Yeah.
it's out there.
For sure.
It's
So
out there.
what I'm really interested in, what I want to start with, I guess, is like, I imagine the story's a little similar, where it's like when you left, decided to leave. I'm curious what led to that. You don't have to name any names or name it, but just like, what was it inside of here that was like, nah, I got to go do my own thing?
Man, I think everybody dreams of doing their own thing.
I would agree.
Everybody. At some point, you believe in yourself enough that you're prepared to walk out the door and do your own thing. I had honestly, kind of career-wise, just put in perspective, I've stayed places quite a long time. I was at an agency in Denver for 5.5 years.
Oh, wow.
It was a massive agency, like 500 people in one building, so it was huge. And the one thing I learned there was the way things work, I guess, and more about the way things work with people and navigating the like having 3 bosses and your boss having 2 bosses and that person having 2 bosses, finance and HR. And I saw that big picture there. And there were a couple people there that I think really helped me a lot with understanding that I was good at what I did, which gave me confidence to do something different. And that's honestly why I made the jump to Winston-Salem, was that I had that confidence to go do it for somebody else a little bit. I wasn't ready then to go do it completely on my own because of the financial risk, honestly, because of experience, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I made a jump and I changed my situation to a place where I had more control. There were less voices in the room, came to a very small agency that was honestly 8 people when I showed up.
Oh, wow.
And it came with the promise that, you're going to be our lead art director. And if you say it's blue, it's going to be blue.
Wow.
Which was fantastic. And that went really well. And honestly, I didn't expect to be there more than 2 years. I thought I'd make the next step. But 13 years later, I can't complain. They kind of gave me everything I promised in the interview until the day that I felt like it wasn't that anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly when that came in the grand scheme of things, because it may have been year 10, it may have been year 11. I don't know. But it was a really great experience that, again, proved to me that I should have the confidence to be able to do it on my own. And so that's when I started to work in the process to get out of there and do my own thing. I have a good friend who's an entrepreneur as well, and he told me kind of during the whole process, because you run this by everybody.
You talk to everyone.
Talk to your wife, your friends, just so they tell you, are you crazy or not, man? And you got to know. And so you tell everybody. And I told a few people and worked with some different friends, and one of them's fairly entrepreneurial. And he said, you're going to be great at it. He said, but you also have to have the confidence that you only get with time.
Yeah.
And that's totally true. And so I don't know when the decision came to make the jump. It's little things, little frustrations from day to day.
Yeah.
It's big frustrations that come together over time. It's personality of people, and at the same time, a voice in your back of the head going, you can do this, you can do this. And so ultimately, it's scary as shit, but you got to pull the plug, man. And so I did that. I did a lot of the legwork ahead of time. I knew what I wanted. I started setting those things up. I started kind of the client process and picking up more freelance and honestly doing the agency without doing the agency, trying to do a lot of that work so that I understood what my day was going to be like, what the work was going to be like, what the possibility of the money could be, all that kind of stuff. And so one day it just made sense, man.
Yeah.
And it was tough after 13 years to walk in and say, yo, I'm done.
That's a hard conversation to have.
It's tough, man.
Especially
It's
13. Because
it comes with a lot of emotion then, you know? If I was working at Pizza Hut and quit after 6 months, I'd be like, peace.
See ya, yeah.
But you can't do that when that place is your friends. It's your support system.
Yeah.
It's people that you've grown up with. And most of the people there I know were, young, no kids, that kind of thing. And now I know their family and what schools they go to and all that. And to say, hey man, I'm not going to see you every day anymore. It's tough.
Yeah.
But again, it's more about the decision of me wanting to be who I wanted to be than anything else.
Yeah. Because that's kind of what I said. We both ended up leaving the same agency. I'm going to keep it unnamed for that. Not for any bad reason. I just don't want to say the name to protect them. But I remember writing in my goodbye email, it was like, I know this is a goodbye, but this is about, like, you guys have helped me figure out the kind of creative person that I want to be. And me leaving is about me going to discover more of who that is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this whole journey for me, at least, has been, is when like you, a lot of the things that you said, like, no, I got the confidence. I have the stack of proof. Like,
yeah.
One of my last projects was directing some national commercial work for Napa. And I was like, no one complained about it. So I think I got it, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, once you have that, then like that inner voice just starts. For me, it was gnawing at me.
Yeah. And it's funny. I think you're interesting. And the thing you just said there about knowing what kind of creative you wanted to be, it takes people and experience to figure that out a lot of time. And people play a big part in that. It's funny. I remember when you came in, interviewing you the very first time, one of the things I loved about you is you had 18 things on your list that you wanted to do, right? You're like, so I do this and I do this and I do this. And honestly, as a producer, I need you to want to do those things and do those, because your job's not one thing. Yeah. It's not even close to one thing. And so you had all this energy around all these things, right? And even got to a point where I remember you telling me you were part of some club or some group or something that was asking you to do some work specifically for them, and you wanted to make sure you could protect that and still do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely. I hope that's the way you took it. I was like, absolutely.
Yeah,
please.
for sure.
In fact, I want you to do it. Yeah. Now, I have to say, I feel like you didn't do it.
Oh, really?
When you got in there. And maybe that's just because you were doing it after hours, you were doing it separately. But like, I thought, you know, this was going to be a bigger thing for you. And I wondered always, did the job kill the thing you wanted to do or not?
That's a great question. So what it was is I was a member of a B&I group. I think that's what it was. And it was like, hey, this group meets at Friday at 9 a.m. And it was like a business networking group. And I had paid for 2 years, I think, of being there. And I was about 6 or 8 months into that 2 years when you guys hired me. And I realized that, like, for me, I didn't feel like I could be true to the commitment you guys made to me and the commitment I made to you guys by having this other thing on the side. So I was like, and I also saw an opportunity to kind of reach higher and climb higher in terms of the kind of work I was doing. So I was like, I will let this thing go, and so I can more fully commit to what we were doing. And I definitely think it paid off, because like now I could walk back into that situation and have a whole, but not just like 3 years of experience, but like just a completely, like, that's one of the best things I think of any creative should do if they can work in an agency, they could, because it's just about like being around other creative people all day. It makes you better just by association. So,
agree.
But I appreciate you saying that, because it's like a little bit
I've always wondered that. Yeah. I'm not saying it's like challenge you or get your answer on it. Just I've always wondered that, and I wasn't sure if the job took that away from you, because now I see you back to what I feel like is doing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit of insight. The reason I was looking for a job is like, this was on the back of COVID. Like, and earlier in 21, I did what every person did at that time. I bought a course, and it was like, it's going to teach you you're going to make it was a $12,000 course that I paid for on debt.
Get paid while you sleep.
Exactly. And I've just reached a point where I was staring at $12,000 in debt every day, and I was like, I got to do something about this. Yeah. So like the first year of the variable really was about getting my financial situation back together, which you talked about, which is like, once you decided to leave, you're like, okay, let me like, or when you actually started at, I'll just say it, the variable. When you got there, you're like, well, I want to do my own thing, but I don't have the experience or the financial sense yet. My 3 years there was really about building that.
Yeah, that's good.
So I could get back to doing a million things.
I used to describe it as fantasy football back then, right, man?
Yeah.
I got to play all the pieces. I got to be in the room. I got to help make all the decisions, but my ass wasn't on the line.
Yeah.
Somebody else's ass was on the line. And I thank them for letting me do that.
Oh, of course. Because you need that. I think everyone needs that place to try things and to see what works and see what doesn't work. And that's a little bit of my favorite part, but also the scariest part of being in business for myself is like, I get to decide. If it works, it goes right into my pocket.
Yep.
If it doesn't, the hole in my pocket gets bigger, you know? So yeah. So that's cool. So can you tell us a little bit about 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿? Like, what's that been like as you've kind of gone out on your own, and what are some things that you've learned that you didn't expect to learn, or things you enjoy you didn't expect to enjoy?
It's a good question. I feel very, very fortunate about the way things happen. You know, things are supposed to happen a certain way, and they do, it seems like.
Nice.
I was gung-ho, ready to run off on my own, and out of the blue, I got a call from a colleague that I used to work with in Denver. So now we're talking 12 years ago. I had talked to Scott maybe 2-3 times ever in that 12-year period. One, he actually came to Winston for a wedding in Raleigh. We ended up going to a Dash game.
Nice.
We had a good night out in the town. And I remember him saying, if I ever come back, you know, I think I want to live in a mid-sized city. And I was like, okay, check. We'll just think about that.
Yeah, we'll keep it.
We talked one other time when an old colleague and a great friend and honestly a mentor of mine passed away probably 5 years ago, something like that. It was right kind of around COVID time, maybe a little bit after that. We talked on the phone then, but Scott had become an Australian citizen.
Oh, wow.
Hadn't really kept up with him that much. And then I happened to be at my son's ball game, and my phone rang, out of the country number. I answered, and I was like, oh, shit, it's Scott. What's up, man? And we just kind of started talking. And the first thing out of his mouth was, hey, man, I'm thinking about coming back to the U.S. What's going on? And so the first thing out of my mouth was, well, you know, I could potentially set you up with one of these clients I have that's really big, and they're in Atlanta. I could maybe set you up at my agency, but I got to tell you, like, I'm putting in my notice tomorrow.
So this,
like, it was I'm not kidding. I was done, and I was putting in my notice the next day. I had written out what I was going to say. I was ready. I was out at a kid's ball game, man, and I was just like, God, what are the odds of this?
Yeah.
And so the next words out of his mouth will tell me more about that. And so from there, it just kind of kicked off and went running. A couple weeks later, he put in his notice in Australia. He planned to move here with nothing. I was kind of doing some of the upfront work with the freelance clients and stuff I had set up for myself. And so once he got here, it was easy to slot it in. And, you know, since then, we've been off and running. We've had goals every month. We've hit them every month.
That's awesome, dude.
And the clients and stuff just kind of keep coming and keep finding a way to get there. You know, I would say we've been a little over 18 months. 80% of our work have come off connections. People we know, people who introduce us to somebody else, somebody who knows somebody who needs something has come through, and it's been incredible. And I've been incredibly fortunate. There have been some up and downs. Work is tough. Like I'm busier than I probably was for a very long time at an old agency, just because I'm kind of trying to do everying on the creative side.
Yeah.
Thank God for things like ChatGPT.
Yeah, dude.
With
Come on,
writing
man.
and stuff like that, because you got to have it.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit back to a junior designer at times, man.
That's cool.
And I'm doing a lot of the low end work, but I'm also presenting everything on the calls. Since I've gotten a little bit more into it and we've started to make a little more, I brought on more freelancers and things. And again, those are connections and people that I know really well. And so I've been really fortunate with the freelancers that we've got. People who have shown up and over-delivered constantly on what I ask them to do. They're just out there, you know, people crushing it right now. And so to have that work coming in, to have people who help me with it, to have a partner that helps me with it, man, it just feels like it's all been put together in the right way, and we're kind of getting off and running. One of the biggest things I want for next year is I'm not waiting around for connections.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put a ton of effort into our site, the SEO, getting our name out there, doing some of that stuff to help build attention, not just because somebody knows somebody. So
yeah, that's awesome, dude. It's crazy, and I'm not going to say it, but you shared with me how much you guys have done this fiscal year. That all of that is off of word of mouth. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. So then I guess my follow-up question to that, what do you think you guys do really, really well that gets people in the door?
Great question. I think about this a lot, and our kind of ethos and the things we always say is we're an agency that provides creative impact. And sure, that sounds a little bit broad, right? But I want us to be more than just, I need you to design that brochure. I need you to do our website. I hate that because I think we have the ability to bring a lot more interesting offering and solve problems in a creative way that a lot of people won't. So I struggle a lot with the things to put on the website.
Dude, it's like, because there's so much you could put on there.
There's a ton, man. I tell people all the time, I don't strive to be really good at talking about what I do. I'd rather do it and show you. And that's much more of a mindset for me that how do I shape that and put it on the website? Nobody reads your website and goes, oh, you work hard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because everybody says they work hard. But I think one thing that Scott and I do really well is we bust our ass, man. We work hard. And we're not sitting around and waiting for you to answer a question. If there's a problem and we have an assignment, we do it and we get it done. We get it done efficiently. We get it done quick. We get it done with the right team members and pull them together. And so I struggle with that. It's something I feel like I want more people to see and experience, and they'll get it. Then I can do explaining it on a website.
It's like that saying that's like sometimes the only way to show them is to just show them. You know, and that was one of the things that that really attracted me to the variable when you were there, when you guys hired me, was like, even though it may not have gotten off the ground, you guys were talking about this whole make it, take it model. Like, we just want to be makers. We just want to make stuff and like, let's do this thing and put a logo on it and see if the client will buy it. And like, again, I don't think we ever did that, at least not while I was there. But just the fact that that was like the energy was like, heck yeah. Like, this is a place that I want to be, because we're not sitting around waiting for the next project. Like, it's almost like focused ADHD, where it's like we're always doing something. We're always making something, trying something just to see what's going to stick. And I love that. You talked a lot about like bringing on the right freelancers and just like building the right teams. And this is actually something Chris Vernon talked about in his episode, where it's like, one of the things I think you're really good at is evaluating talent, and like curating and developing, and I'll say it because he hired me, finding good people. What goes into that when you're looking for people to bring on? Because I think I can't think of anyone that you've missed on. You know,
I've definitely missed on a few people. I'll own that. I've definitely missed on a few people. You know, I was really surprised how much of that part of the job I loved. And I don't know why. It's not something I would expect to go out there and be like, I really like hiring people. I like interviewing people. I like digging through their book. But, man, I feel like I get a pretty good read on people pretty quickly. And, you know, I don't know how you officially call that HR vibes. Like, they're not buying vibes. But I feel like I get a pretty good read on people pretty quickly. I think I'm pretty down to earth and can talk to anybody.
Yeah, it's very human.
Yeah, just pretty straightforward. I don't have crazy interview questions. I don't have something stupid that like cracks the code for me on whether you're any good or not.
No Tesla tests or no meta tests.
No, I'm not. None of that stuff you hear about on Amazon. Like, what is the one? How many panes of glass are there in all of Seattle?
Something like that.
And they want you to work it out on the board? No, I don't have anything like that, man. I tend to talk and ask you questions that I think are important. I tend to just have a conversation with somebody, and I think I get a good read on them. I think the other thing is, too, I tend to give everybody the benefit of the doubt from the start. And I go in with everyone thinking yes until I feel like it's no.
Okay.
And that usually exposes itself pretty quickly.
Is that same approach with clients for you, too? Do you take that same approach of like going in with a yes and then let them tell you no? Does that show up there, too?
A little bit. I would say it's more, you know, it's kind of the same as finding the right partners that you want to work with, right? We've had some things that we've passed on that would have been great for us financially. But, you know, if people are unresponsive, that does a lot of that work for you,
That's
right?
fair.
That tells you that it's a no, that it's just not going to work. If I'm working this hard, I kind of expect it to come back. And I think you can kind of see that in clients and stuff as well.
That's fair.
On the other side, though, like, I feel like I can get, again, to who somebody is pretty quickly in an interview. I think your book says a lot especially on the career side, like what are you showing? What art do you have? How good of a designer are you? All that stuff shows pretty quick, but I also don't think that's everything. Like
It's not.
some people haven't had the at-bats that other people have. And if I'm super excited about that McDonald's or Nike fake spec ad you did,
Yeah.
or maybe you churned out a ton of really good stuff for some, I don't know, Napa Auto Parts or whatever, and you did a million versions of that, says something to me too,
Yeah.
and that's real. And so you got to understand the craft in it. You got to be looking for the right thing, and you can't just be dazzled by somebody's book.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Where it's like, and that was one of the things that I got when I interviewed was from everyone I talked to was like, skills aside, because I was like, man, these people are hitting. They were all people that I wanted to spend time with. They were all people I wanted to be around.
Yep.
And people I felt like I could trust to give me feedback.
Yeah.
Because even if I hadn't have gotten the job, I felt like in a weird way, you guys were really interested in my career, which was very kind of strange for me because I hadn't felt that anywhere else before. No shade to anyone else. Every other job I'd had was just a job. But yeah, it was cool. Like just to feel that investment in the person and their creative ability and like kind of see what could come from that.
I got to be honest. I don't remember anything about your book.
That's fair.
I don't remember anything about it. I'm not saying it was bad.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
not saying it was good. But at the end of it, like, I'm sure there were some nuggets that stood out to me of like, yeah, it has potential, but I remember Jerald.
Yeah.
And that was like, that's the difference to
Yeah.
me. A lot of times when you're interviewing for a specific position and you've got like 5 people laid out in front of you, you might understand some of the things in some people's books. You might remember some things that stood out, but man, sometimes I'm like, I don't even remember interviewing that person.
Yeah.
I don't remember their name.
They just kind of like showed up to work.
So
one
how
day.
could they be in it? Like, and you're right. You've got to want to be around these people all the
Yeah.
time. You can pretend you don't, and it's about the best candidate of this and that and blah, blah, blah. Dude, you spend 8 hours a day
Yes.
with people. You better like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't, you better find something that you guys can get together on.
Yeah. I'll give a shout out to 𝐿𝐿𝐴 and 𝐸𝐻𝐺. I don't know if you were still there when we had that the Vandals internship the second year.
I do.
This was that was the first year that they had production interns. It started out with me and Garrett Mansfield were doing it, and then Garrett was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna go do my job and like respect because
This is all yours."
At the time, Keith Rose had him just everywhere, but I was like, let me try my hand at this. At like I've been given a lot of opportunity. Let me see if there's a way for me to turn around and give that back a little bit and pay it forward. And to the same thing, like I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. Like.
Yeah.
Meeting the person on the resume, you know,
Yep.
and I think the two guys we landed on, 𝐿𝐴 and 𝐸𝐺, were both awesome for 2 very different reasons, but together they were really interesting. Like 𝐿𝐴,
Cool.
like reminds me a lot of my younger brother, where it's like, hey man, like not only are you better than me, I'm probably not going to catch you. And 𝐸𝐺 was just a grinder. He was just like he would get to work before me. Like if work started at 9, he'd be there at 8:30. Like, good morning, Jerald. What are we doing today? And I'm like, I got to be ready, you know. And both of them ended up like from where they were at the beginning to where they ended at the end of their internship was kind of the same thing. Where it's like, oh, you kind of see the development, and you never know what someone's going to do if and they might just have not had the opportunity,
Right.
Like you were saying. So
It's interesting because I think I suck at interns.
really,
I think I'm terrible at interns. So maybe you're just a different kind of personality because I feel like with interns, I have to coach.
oh yeah, that's all it was.
And then it's
yeah.
like, I don't think I'm good on the granular like this, and showing what I do. I feel like I'm more like, come in, observe,
Just
shadow, and hopefully you're going to pick those things up off me because I can't tell you what I do.
I understand that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But I bet you're a little bit more tactical and be like, this is what I do and how I do it.
Kind of, yeah. It was a little bit of that because, again, this is the first time we'd had a production intern. So it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's make up a project. Like, what's something that you guys want to learn how to do? Let's build a project around that. And then from there, it's like, okay, now it's production calendar, which Keith Rose drilled into my head. It's like, all right, so this is your due date. Let's work our way back from that to where we are today.
Yeah.
And then just break up the time. And so yeah, it was really fun. one of the things I wanted to ask you, so right after I got hired, I'd been there maybe a month and a half, is when we started pitching Napa.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the funnest times of my life, because every day I would come to work, and in addition to everyone doing work for agency clients, everyone was working on the Napa pitch. And you guys would put the big boards up, and you could see everyone's work, and it was cool to like go to the board and be like, oh, that's Angie's. I know that's Angie's because I know her hands, or that's Caleb's, and like see everyone's personality, but also their ability. Two-part question. What was that process like for you, that specific pitch? Because I feel like I haven't seen one like that since. And then also just like, if you want to give away a little bit, what is your pitch process like?
Yeah, sure. That one specifically, I don't feel like that one was all that different than the way we always did it at the variable, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. And it's a system we worked on and came up with over like 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was either so big it was all hands on deck, or it was the same process but with a smaller group, just depending on the size. That one was fun because everybody was into it. There are
like top to bottom, dude.
Yeah, there are like in the 13 years there were 5 agency making opportunities.
Yeah, and that was one of them.
That was one of them. And personally for me, I'm a car guy.
Oh yeah.
So I was turned up to 11 on that one.
Oh,
like that was easy for me. If you had told me I couldn't go home between that and the time to pitch, I would have been like, okay,
fine.
Will you just get me a blanket? Like it would have been fine. So yeah, that was a great process. I love when everybody I love pitching. I love the pitch process. I love that there are no rules. As soon as you start putting rules on it, or you start trying to do what you think they want you to say, it's
lost.
Over. You've lost.
Yep.
It's over.
Yep.
And I always used to joke about, we got to get the first one out. So tell me the idea that other agency's going to do. And you probably can on just about everything, because you're getting the same brief they are. And if you put 5 smart people in a room and you can say, what's the no-duh idea? Somebody's bringing the no-duh idea in the room.
So let's do that. And
so let's push that to the side and go do something else. And I don't care if it says you can't touch this, or I don't care if it says we like this, we want to keep it. I don't care, dude. Like every time we had success, it was because we did what we thought was right.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
And we pushed hard at it. Man, Napa, I know they ultimately ended up changing and stuff, but they had a massive legacy and a heritage that came with that brand that probably felt really scary to touch. But ultimately, man, we redesigned their logo. We tweaked their logo and got it to more modern times and fixed that.
100%.
Changed their tagline, gave them a campaign that was incredibly inspirational, and personally still some of the best work that I've done. Like, I loved it. And so that process was great. And so I think I'm kind of answering the second part at the same time. Mm-hmm. As soon as you go in and you think you know the answer, you're wrong, man. Like, or you try to live within their parameters, you're going to lose. You've got to go in and do what you think is right, and you've got to push the limits on it. You're going to lose some because somebody wants somebody who's going to put it right down the middle, but that's fine. You probably didn't want that work anyway. I bet that work lasts 2 years.
And you hate yourself all throughout the process.
The client doesn't like you. You don't like the client, and you're just doing stuff that isn't cool. So that was a great example of one of those, again, that I think agency making opportunity. Literally everybody got on board to get after it. And when you do that and you can see how efficiently you can run, it's phenomenal. Yeah. Now, all that changes when there's a budget and there's a timeline and all that once you've got them as a client. But in those moments, man, it's magic when you get it right.
Yeah, because especially for that pitch, I very much saw it as like, okay, if you throw the rule book out the window, this is what we could do for you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I loved about the way you guys pitched that work, and I think why you won, is you had a point of view and you stuck to that point of view. But on the other side of it is like, you knew cars, you knew that world, you knew that culture, but you also knew these other ways that you could adapt it and modernize it. And it was like, to your point about like no rules, like if, especially in an ad agency, when a brand is looking for a new creative agency of record, that says a lot of things about where they are in terms of their advertising, which is if they're even looking for someone, that means whatever they're doing right now is not working.
Right.
So it's like, that's why you can't just do what the person before you was doing, because subconsciously in the back of their mind, they're like, I've seen this already and I know it's not going to get me what I want.
Yep.
So,
and if you want the real answer, just make a hype video.
Dude, for real. I made that hype video.
Just make a hype video, man. Just get all the best footage you can get.
Yep.
Pick a killer song and make a hype video.
That's what we did. Dude, that is exactly what we did. We did 3 of them.
You'd be shocked at how much that works. We did 3 of them. That's
We did 3 because there was the one that...
One per concept.
Yeah, there was one that you concepted out.
Yep.
That you gave me the track to like redo the song, and I redid this and like made the client cry in the thing.
Yep.
In the pitch. In a good way. Then there was the other video that's actually one of my favorite videos that David Sherrill has ever made, which was the one that was like that brand video had that was just like a rip cut of scenes from movies and text.
Yeah.
But the way that he like cut it together with the music, like it was like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. But it had a point of view.
Again, when you get to create with no chains, man, you can make some killer stuff. Grab a great song, rip from movies, rip from existing commercials. You can make some killer stuff.
Yeah, and I think because, and I think the reason that pitch went so well is like ultimately the audience was you. Yeah. So you're like, what would I want to see?
Yeah.
And that's when I look at some of the best things that I've made, whether it's for clients or music I've made for myself, the things I'm most proud of are the things that I feel like speak to whatever's going on in here.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a very lucky and fortunate opportunity that we get sometimes to be able to do that 100%. For creative work. So
100%. It is way easier to get out of bed every day when you're excited about what you're working on.
Oh yeah. That's the only reason I do what I do is because like the thoughts cross my mind. I'm like, I could go throw it all away and just go like sell insurance and you know, and make bank doing that. But like,
is that your go-to? I'm gonna go sell insurance. Like mine's Home Depot. I could make a living at Home Depot.
Hey guys, real quick, wanted to take a beat and thank our sponsor for season 2, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 Creative. They stepped up in a huge way in supporting me and the podcast and making sure that the voices of the creative community in North Carolina can be seen and heard. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 is a full-service creative agency built for one thing, impact. And not just the flashy stuff, but real impact. The kind that moves people, grows brands, and turns ideas into work that actually works. So whether you have a business problem that you need to solve, or a brand in need of some love, or just want to make something cool, like a podcast, they're the crew to call. You can find them at 𝐬𝐻KidCreative.com and tell them 𝐬𝐿 and Ember sent you. They'll treat you right.
So talking about agency defining moments, that was at the variable where you were before.
Yep.
Have you had anything like that with 𝐬𝐻Kid yet?
Yeah, a couple things. So I would say the first 8 months, we were grinding to get to that number constantly, right? Working our ass off and, you know, a lot of little branding projects here. And some of those branding projects would involve a website, then would involve some SEO. And so we were grinding out a ton of these. And then we got a call from a bigger company, Peacock Pavers, which is in Atmore, Alabama, like kind of the Mobile area. And they came in and were like, we just bought this business. We want to totally change the way it's done. We want to update monitors. We've had a agency for like 30 years. It's been doing it the same way. And we want you guys to come in and help us update, modernize, do things differently. And so we did what we did, man. We gave a presentation of who we were. We didn't do a full pitch because we weren't pitching against anybody, but it was more just illustrating who we are and what we felt like we could do for them. Mm-hmm. And so we busted our ass, man. Scott and I put together a great presentation. We thought about it holistically. We thought about every angle because these people didn't have, you know, a CMO. They didn't have in-house marketing. They were looking for us to do all that. So I felt like we took it, you know, really personal to give them something that delivered what was right for them and did this presentation. And it was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours of us running through what we would do. And again, no rules. We weren't saying, what do you want us to do? We're saying, here's what we would do. Here's how we would attack it. And we showed them this plan for the entire thing. And it was wild because we gave the presentation. I walked over to Scott's office. I was like, hey, man, that went pretty well. How you feel about it? He's like, yeah, man, that went great. I went back to my office and my phone rang and I was like, I didn't recognize the number. And I was like, hello? And he's like, hey, this is Robert. I'm like, Robert who? Oh, the Robert I just presented to 15 minutes ago. And he goes, we're going to go with you guys. And like, it was that easy. It was that simple. And, you know, there are obviously varying levels of clients and sophistication and all that kind of stuff, and money that they invest and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And this one just happened to be just right for us at exactly that moment. Yeah. And it worked, man. The fact they were like, let's go. I knew we were on the same page. And that moment was a big game changer for us, because that was monthly retainer.
Nice.
That was a contract for a certain amount of time. And that ticked the box that we had been grinding for monthly to get there. And so it kind of set us free. And it made us to where we were a lot more comfortable saying no to somebody else, right? And picking and choosing the jobs we wanted to. A couple months later, we had another job come in for a massive national telecom company. And you're like, the hell, how'd you, again, through a connection. But they came in and were like, I want you to rebrand us. And we were like, oh, okay.
Like they're asking you to do it. They're not searching for someone. They're like, just be like, hey, we want you to rebrand.
We kind of went back and forth on the number a little bit to do it. And then ultimately they were like, yeah. And this was like stratospheric number for what we had been doing a lot of stuff at the time.
Wow.
But we knew it was going to take that. We knew how long this job was going to take. And so I really feel like we priced it right and we absolutely crushed it. And so that's another moment that, you know, luckily ticked that financial box really well for us, but also creatively, man, it was something that I feel like actually tested all our skills, our freelancers, our ability to build a team, all that. And again, we crushed it to where I'm not afraid to talk to anybody right now.
That's cool.
I don't think there's a job I would be afraid of right now.
That's a really cool place to be in.
And so there's two differences. One really took care of us financially. One, I think, really took care of peace of mind that, man, like, bring it.
We can do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like in that 8 months before Peacock Pavers, it was almost like that was you guys getting your reps in. Just like
I think so.
Just like getting it in. All right, this is who we are. We're figuring out who we are, what we stand for, what we're best at, what our weaknesses are. So if we need to, we can mitigate for those.
Yep.
And hearing you say that, like, it's like, all right, cool. I understand where in my process I am now.
Yep.
I think I'm about halfway through that, because I spent the first 4 to 6 months trying to just figure stuff out, and I just kind of landed on something. So
I probably did our presentation, right? Like our who we are 40 times in 6 months. I'm not even exaggerating. I think that's the number.
That's awesome.
I think it never once went from the first time to the next time to the next time in the same state.
Yeah.
It changed every single time because, one, something didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to. One, somebody just didn't care what it said, or my joke didn't land. I don't know. So I would tweak that as much as possible. And, you know, we got to a point where Scott was doing my jokes for me, and just because we did it so much. I've done that presentation twice in the last 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. It's just, we refined it so well. We started to build steam. We spent less time introducing ourselves to people till they knew who we were based on what somebody else was saying about us. And so that shift has happened a ton. I'm grateful for that up front, but I enjoy this a lot more.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, you got to pay your dues. You know, you got to kind of signal to the universe a little bit that, like, hey, I'm here to stay. I'm here for it, and I'm going to do it.
We talk to a lot of people that don't respond to our email anymore. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because today I hit a client that I'm pitching for some work for the 4th time in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And like hearing you be like, that probably means that they're not it. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
Which means
you got to know when to walk away sometimes.
Well, that's the thing, which means that in a week or two from now, it'll come in burning hot and they're ready to go, you know?
See, you'll shift your mindset onto the next thing.
Yeah.
You'll make a few bucks there, and then that one will come on top of it, and you'll be like, man, I'm going to have to bust my ass, but it's kind of gravy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what was I going to ask you? I lost it. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So you're getting all of your business from word of mouth, referrals. Not all of it, but the lion's share of it.
I'd say most of it, yeah.
So what's your approach to networking then? And I don't like using that word. I like the word building community better.
Yeah.
But like, what's your thought process behind that? Like, how do you approach that if you want to give that away?
Mine's not. I don't feel like I network much. I don't feel like I'm very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put a ton of effort. Again, I don't strive to be good at talking about what I do. I don't do the LinkedIn post that's like 10 things that I learned in the outside. Like, it's just not who I am. So I don't do that stuff. I don't do it well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like if you can put me on a phone call with somebody,
dude, come on.
I'm personable enough that I can find something in just about everybody that we connect with and get along with.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's harder because I don't know if I'm an introvert or an extrovert. I don't know. Like, I have my moments where I'm both, right?
Yeah.
I am not the walk up to somebody and talk to them.
Agreed.
I went to a conference in New York the other day. There were 200 people in the room that are all in the same business with me, man. And I talked to 3 people. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not in me to go start a conversation. Because one, I don't think I'm a salesman. I don't think I can just walk up to anybody and say, here's what I do. This is why you should buy it. And like, I'm just not that person. I like to be more laid back and it come to me, which is not great for running a business always, but I just feel like I do better in that setting. So I don't go out there and try to be famous and LinkedIn famous and, the kind of creative that can talk about creative all day, but you don't see anything from them or know what they do. Like, I just don't. So I think I struggle with networking. Now, I can write a great email to people I know and connect with them, and I can have a great phone call and really do that well. But when it comes to like, I got to cold call somebody,
nope.
Wrong dude.
Nope.
Wrong dude.
Yeah, I hear that. So it sounds like not that you're doing any networking, but once you do get an opportunity, you're like, oh, this is just person to person.
Yeah.
Let's just be humans together. And if something comes from that, cool. If not, cool.
And that's what I think I've got to figure out for the next phase of 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐾 is how to go out and get people to know who we are and start to call us. Because again, as soon as you call us, as soon as you email us, I'm super confident about what we can or can't do. And that's going to take some tactics, man. Like, I'm going to spend some money in SEO. Like, I'm going to do some of that work that a lot of people are like, oh, why do you do that? You're just networking. But no, I'm going to have to do it because I need to find ways, I think, to bring leads my way.
Yeah. I feel the same way. A little bit of my frustration right now is like, I just looked at like my close ratio in terms of like revenue I estimated and revenue I closed and number of opportunities I closed. Solid 50%. Like exactly 50%.
That's good.
But it's like the number of opportunities, that's where I'm focusing right now. So like
up that number.
Because I feel like you, whereas like if I can just get in a room with someone or get on the phone or get on a call with someone, like I feel really, really confident that they may not buy from me, but I might get some kind of commitment from them.
Yeah.
But not because I'm trying to get something off of them, but I'm just like the way I approach sales is like, what are you trying to do? And let's just make sure that you understand that as best as you can. And I can just be an objective third party to help you do that.
Yeah.
And once you know, cool. And if you want to go with me, cool. If not, then I wasn't the right person for you.
It's weird because as a business owner, I feel like you have to do some things that are counter to who you really are and what your personality is a lot of times.
Yeah.
And that's what I struggle with. Again, not a salesman.
Yeah.
I'm not a big award show guy either, but
I could give a shit about cans, honestly.
I know the value of it. Yeah. I know so many calls. I know to hear from you. So like, I wrestle with that to where I'm like, but you got to do it, right? You got to do some of that stuff, and it's difficult to step out of your comfort zone sometimes on those things. But I think everybody should at least try.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the season I'm entering now. Is like I was just talking to my dad about this. Like I feel like I've hit a ceiling. And it comes back to that idea that like, okay, well then what's the thing you're most scared of? Putting myself out there.
Yep.
Okay, well then I need to do that. That's what I need to do. And this actually reminds me of something that you told me right before you left. You said I posted something up that was like, if you're scared, do it scared.
Yeah, man.
And you were like, okay, all right, I'm going to do it scared.
It's amazing the signs that will come to you, whatever you want to call them, man. But I remember I was just at that moment, and you posted, if you're scared, do it scared. And I was like, damn it, Jerald.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's just a nudge sometimes, man.
That's all you need.
It does it, man. Those quotes, and you know, because they're always coming from somewhere of truth, man. Somebody's been there before and they've done it before.
Yeah.
And man, when you start to think about it, if you lived your life, if you're scared, do it scared, probably crush it.
Oh yeah.
In every way.
Yeah. And that, like, I had my first therapy session this morning talking about that, because it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, if I can just, like, what was I talking about? I was telling someone that, like, there's something that I do in my life. I can't remember what hobby it is, but it's like, I just do it because I like doing it. And like, why don't I just do that with everything that I do? And the thing about business is, like, on the LinkedIn front, like, that's what it was. Learning to play drums. The hardest part for me about learning to play drums when I first started about a year or two ago was being okay with my wife hearing me suck in the other room. But like, if you can get over that, it's like, how much more can I enjoy music now, because I can play along to more songs and enjoy more music because it's more drum focused instead of guitar. So it's like the same thing. Like, if I'm okay with people seeing me flounder and suck as I build this, whatever this thing is that I'm building, like, on the other side of that is me being able to enjoy it so much more.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to change directions a little bit.
Okay.
If you're good on 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿, if there's anything else you want to...
No, let's go for it.
I wanted to ask you about Roadworthy, because I don't know too much about it. And kind of from the lens, the perspective of like, okay, so you've built your own agency. It's going really, really well. What do you do to blow off steam?
Yeah.
What do you do to just like... Because like, I feel like what you're building, and it kind of, in my opinion, what I'm building is like, so that I can enjoy my life more. I can enjoy my life more. So when you've reached that point, what do you do to enjoy your life a little more?
Yeah, that's a good one. Again, I'm always just gobsmacked that anybody wants to talk or thinks I'm interesting, first of all, because I think I'm pretty uninteresting. I like doing my job. I like being a creative. I like baseball, and I like cars. Like, I sound like a 10-year-old saying that, but like, those are the things I care about.
Yeah.
And so those are the things I put my time and energy towards, man. I spend my weekends in my barn under a car. And everybody's like, what'd you do this weekend? The same thing. My knuckles and I'm all torn up because that's what I did all weekend.
That's cool.
And so again, that was one thing that changed a little bit when I left and started my own agency. Was I knew I was going to have a little time up front. I'm not going to be busy day one like I was in a job I'd been doing 13 years.
Yeah.
I felt like I had more time. And I said, I want to diversify a little bit, and I want to do some other things, but it's got to be around a passion of mine. I have a buddy that here in town that, you know, we used to get drink and talk about cars all the time. So same thing, man. We were like, man, let's throw some money in a pot and let's buy a couple old cars. We talk about it all the time. Let's just do it. And so, you know, you got to make that leap to open a bank account, set up an LLC, and that's what we did. And you know, I treated it early on like one of my clients, like one of my babies. And so I branded it. I built out a suite. We built out a website. You know, we listed every car we had and for sale, and I have way too many cars.
No such thing.
I think I have 8 at home right now.
Okay, so that number's gone up. It was 6 the last time.
I was going to say, I think it might go up a little bit, and I've got my son now sending me cars that he wants to buy on a daily basis. So
snap.
It's only going to get worse.
Nice.
But I put my energy that I had towards that. And that was a chance to make something that, I don't know, it could take off, dude. It could replace this job. I could make more money doing that than what I'm doing with 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿, man. And then I have the best problem in the world.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to spend my time on?
Yeah.
And oh God, if it's my passion, man, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's awful.
And so like, how's it going? It's going slow, but it's going. And I'm surprised it's still going a little bit. Corey and I both kind of think the same way, and there's no pressure for it to be good. There's no pressure for it to make money. We bought and sold a truck that we owned. We've sold vehicles for 4 or 5 people right now for a consignment fee. We're about to list one of our others on Bring a Trailer. And so while it's a hobby, it's not a hobby. Like, it's literally what I want to do.
Yeah.
And we're doing it. Are we making a fortune at it? No, we haven't made a dime. But I don't care. I love it. I love it as much as 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿, man. I make stickers. I make T-shirts. Nobody buys my T-shirts, but they're on my website. Like, I don't care, but one day they might.
Yeah.
One day we might sell a truck, and make enough money off of it to buy a place that it becomes a garage that we only work on classics because that's harder to find than you think. Somebody who will work on a classic car for you. So I don't know what it'll become, but it exists. So it has an opportunity to be something. So that's what I love about it.
And I'm like watching you talk about it, and it's like you kind of went like, you know, you're up a little bit talking about it. But like, I think that's, for me, that's the things that I look for in hobbies is like monetarily it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And for me a little bit, that's like my photography that I post on Instagram. It's just like, I was here, this was a moment, I feel something in this moment.
Yeah.
I just want to capture it and share it kind of thing. And I feel like Roadworthy is a little bit like that for you too, where it's just like, I'm here in this moment, this is something that I enjoy, and I just want to like enjoy it and share it with people.
I don't know what the end outcome is, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I go to auctions all the time, and I like hone my skills and guess what something's going to cost. I haven't bought anything at a big auction yet, but one of these days I'm going to. I'm going to go to SEMA again. I went 2 years ago. I'm going to go again, and I'm going to go on the company's dime next time, which is awesome, right? Like the fact that it could pay for me to travel to go look at cars, dude.
Come on, man.
Me up.
Nice. So other thing I was going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you this with the story. Sometime last year, Christina and I went to the movies at like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. We were the only people in the theater, and no one else was there. And we just like sat and watched this movie. And like, as I sat down to watch this movie, I was like, wait, is this what I quit my job for?
Yeah.
Is like moments like this, not to have the big company and the corner office and all that stuff, but just like being able to enjoy time with this person that I really, really like spending time with. Since you've left, or in any of the things that you've done, have you found that a little bit in what you're doing?
1,000,000%, dude.
That's awesome.
I'm not a big like conspiracy theory guy, or like, oh, the man's got you trapped in this office job. Like, I don't believe any of that. Everybody has control over themselves, you know, and what they want to do. That's just the path I chose for a very long time, and it made a lot of sense to me then.
Yeah.
It just didn't make as much sense to me. And I wanted to find a different way to be about things, you know, and that's one of them, is to find a little bit more time. My son plays baseball. I really miss those games. My daughter plays softball.
Nice.
I missed a lot of those games because they were at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I didn't prioritize it. That's not my company's fault. It's my fault.
Yeah.
And I'll own that. And since then, man, I don't think I missed a middle school game since leaving. And why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you miss that? That's the reason you go and do that job, is so that you can go to those things. And now, man, like, if there's a tournament and I'm supposed to be in Florida, I don't miss them anymore.
That's awesome.
I go to the tournament in Florida. I work. I keep up with things the way I always have and the way I should and the way I need to. But I'm also not choosing to be in status.
Yeah.
You know? Versus
weekly
doing something
stand
I really
up at 3 p.m., you know?
Yeah, like, and it goes the same way with the car stuff. Like, if I need to go to, if I want to go to that auction, or I need to get my car worked on over at this place and I need to drop it off at some weird time during the day, I'm not stressed out about, man, am I going to miss that meeting that we're going to have? No, man, I say, I'm going to be there till 11. We can do this later.
Yeah.
And it's a total mind shift. And, and you know, I was in Myrtle Beach last week. I worked until about 11:30, and my wife and my daughter wanted to take our dog to the beach, and we're like, let's go.
Let's go.
It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. It's almost like the rearranging the priorities.
Yeah.
A little bit of what I did, where it's like, okay, I was living to have the job, but I was also in a position where the job was helping me to live.
Sure.
But I think now is more of like, no. The job just kind of supports my life.
Yeah.
And as long as my lifestyle of, if I want to wake up and play Monster Hunter Wilds for 2 hours on a Tuesday, like, I can do that as long as I've done my chores before that, you know?
100%.
So, oh man, what was I going to ask you? I had another one.
Hey, if you ever want to go to a movie in the middle of the day, hit me up.
All right, sounds good.
I would love to.
AMC Haynes, that's usually where I roll up to.
Nice.
That's what I was going to ask you is, so it sounds like in all of these things that you do, one of the skills that I'm seeing as I kind of like dig in is like with 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐾, with Roadworthy, you like found the right person to run with. So I guess in both scenarios, do you feel like those skill sets are complementary? Are they the same, or do they have things that you don't that like?
Good question.
You understand what I'm asking?
Again, yeah, I've been lucky. I have great friends. There are 50 more people I'd probably like to have 50 other businesses with too.
Yeah.
Just because I think we would do well and have great ideas together. I think having different skills is phenomenal. And it gives you space to do what you do well and them to help take a lot of that stuff off your plate to help you run that business. And at the same time, I think you're doing the same thing for them, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine if Scott was trying to keep up with the amount of freelancers and things that we have on the creative side or getting each one of those jobs out. It's not his specialty. Now, I'm sure he'd find a way, but I imagine it would be incredibly taxing. And so having different skill sets is phenomenal. It's a little bit of the same on Roadworthy. We're both car enthusiasts, which is great. He was just texting me last night about doing taxes, and I was like, oh my God, thank God. I would have no clue, dude. Like just to have somebody to take those things off your plate that you aren't great at, and hopefully they are, that's always, I have a feeling agencies that fail are the ones that have two creatives. No one to really run and manage the business.
I would agree with that.
At the same time, I bet if you have only two car salesmen and nobody who knows the value of buying a car and how to buy it, I bet you go under too.
Yeah, 100%. It's a complementary skill sets. That's one of the emerging themes of the show is that like you have a very specific skill set. I have a skill set. Now there's some overlap in places, I think.
There should be. So you understand each other and speak each other's language.
Exactly. So you understand each other and speak each other's language. But if I get in a situation where I need design or I need SEO or I need like branding, I could do it. But why wouldn't I call you and be like, hey, man, I got this project. Like, this is the budget that I have. Do you want to go in on this with me? Because now it's like I'm able to provide a better service because of the people that I know. But then like also like that's better for you too because like now you're getting introduced to someone else and like I keep saying like at the bottom we compete, at the top we collaborate. And that's like kind of what I'm trying for my mode to be this year because there was another person on the show, her name's 𝐸. She said something with me that every time I lose a job, I replayed it in my mind. She said, what is for me is for me. And I just like, we talked about this before the show started. I was bidding on $100K in business and lost all of it over the course of 2 business days. And throughout all of it, I'm like biting my hands going, what is for me kind of thing. So yeah, well, it's been about an hour. I am out of questions. One of the things I like to do is to throw it over to you and like, is there anything that you want to ask me? I've asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Man, put me on the spot. I don't know, man. Good question. I feel like we talk a lot. Well, like we may have lunch, once every 2 months or so, something like that. Which is all right. So I feel like we always check up on each other and what each other are doing. I want to know what ultimately your grand vision is for what you've got going on those things. Because again, I see you doing a lot of things. I see you post a lot of things. I know your mind does a lot of things. What do you think the ultimate outcome is? Are you going big? Are you staying small? You just want work? You want people? What is it?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Grand vision, overall vision, like what's the end of the road look like? I think that's a hard question for me to answer because I'm starting to realize I don't really think there is an end. I think I just love creativity and doing things so much that it's like it changes every day. I do think I'm realizing now that I want to move from just being the video guy to being like, no, I am a digital marketing agency that does brand strategy and content creation because I think both of those things go well together.
Yep.
Because I often find myself in situations where people want to do content or commercial work, but they haven't done the strategy part first. So it's like, and I've also always loved that part. Like, I think the part I enjoyed about starting my business the most was like branding it up and like, what do I want the visuals to look like? What do I want it to feel like? What do I want people to experience? And so kind of going more into that agency model in terms of like the grand vision. I'll say it. I want to be the CEO. I want to run the company. I want to run the thing because I think, when I look at the CEOs in the world right now, right, you have the big tech guys, right? That's the ones we all look at. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. I think they've kind of stood up a specific model of they've found a product that people really, really, really want, but they've let the success of that, in my opinion, corrupt them a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think, especially as a Christian, when I look at the CEO role, like that's really just a platform to serve other people. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea. Like I did not expect to enjoy how much I love getting to know new clients, pitching them, getting to understand their business problems, like the business side of it. My favorite part, too. I didn't expect to like that part as much. So like when I get an opportunity to get on a call with someone and like talk about this new project, I'm like, oh yeah, like let's do it. So, yeah, I want to be a CEO.
Fair. Fair. You know what I think is interesting about what you said, and I struggle with this too. You started out by saying, I don't know, I want to be creative, I want to do lots of creative things, and then you immediately shift, and I do this too, to put it into words somebody else will understand.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? You got to say, I want to do strategy and digital marketing and like check all those boxes because that's what somebody else understands.
Yeah.
That's the same reason, like, I'm building a new 𝐬𝐮𝐞𝐭 website right now, and I'm just making the statement, we're an agency built for creative impact.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want to do. Now, I've got to somewhere put words what I do, but I hate that part. I hate that part.
Yeah.
I want you to come to me and say, I got a problem. You probably the same way. Yeah. Hey, I'm so-and-so and I run this gym. Yo, what are you
trying to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And looking back to your point, looking back on it, like 2 projects that stick out in my mind last year that like I didn't realize I enjoyed as much as I did as I was doing them was the first one that I did, which was the commercial for the baking company here in town. Mm-hmm. And local company, $4,000 budget, like kind of did it all myself, right?
Yep.
But making that commercial and giving it to them and then them putting it on television, I checked in a couple weeks ago and was like, hey man, like how did that do for you? And he was like, it's kind of hard to quantify how big of a change that made. And like that, I want that.
Absolutely.
Like, how can I use all of this ADHD brain and all the skills that I've had and gained over time to help people have that? Because now I know my friend from church that runs this company can spend and enjoy more time with his family because his business is right.
You did something real for him, right?
Exactly. Creative impact.
Creative impact.
And the other one was when I went to Canada, when I went to Quebec, they were like, hey, we need to make this like corporate documentary for this presentation that we have. And there's going to be a bunch of vendors from our industry there. We want to show them our product. And they're like, but it involves going to Canada and we don't really know how to tell this story. And I'm like, say less. I got you, you know? And like, it was a tough one. Like it definitely should have offloaded some things, but pretty much did it all myself. But I just loved the like, unscrambling the gobbledygook of what it is, and to your point, figuring out how to say it in a way that other people understand. And I think that's really what I'm on. Is like a quest to understand and be understood. Is really what I'm on. And I think in terms of what I want to build, I want it to be a place where creative people can come and do that, help people understand their businesses and brands better, but also understand who they are as a creative better themselves too.
That's great. That's great. So. Honestly, I'm a little bit fascinated by you. I've never told you this, but just in general, because whenever we were looking to hire somebody and we interviewed you, I think you were in Hawaii at the time. Like we had a really interesting over the phone interview. I remember thinking, I don't think this guy needs a job.
Really?
Yeah. And mainly because of just who you are and the way you talked about the different things you do and all that. Because there are people who need jobs and there are people who don't need jobs. And you kind of struck me as somebody who didn't really need a job. So I was a little surprised when you took the job and then honestly came in and stayed so long. Because even from the get, you were like, I do these other things. I want to keep doing these other things. And I was like, great, do them. And you stayed probably the right amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think you probably realized, too, you didn't need a job. And so I think
my bank account would say otherwise.
Your bank account might say otherwise. But I really think that. And like, I think you're probably doing now more of what I expected you to be, even though I didn't really know you back then. But like a little bit of, not a jack of all trades. You know what you do. You know what you do well, but you're not afraid to say yes to something else or anything else, or come up with something new and try it. Like when we started, when you left originally, you were very much a producer.
Yeah.
You were, I want to shoot more.
Yeah.
Now it's back a little bit to, no, I want to do the bigger things, and I want to be the production company as a whole. I want to do the strategy stuff. And so I feel like this more fits you. And probably what I thought you would be. And even like the fact that you host this podcast, like that's so Jerald to me. It's not even funny. And
thanks, man.
I would definitely encourage you to keep doing it, because I actually think this is great, and it's probably going to be hard, and it's going to be a grind at time, because I know no one's paying you to do this, but this to me feels like Jerald.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude.
I'll say this: no one is paying me to do this, but it is 100% a tax write-off.
Perfect.
And it is actually. So there's kind of the two sides of it, right? There's the creative side of it that's just like, I'm fascinated by creativity, and I'm also fascinated by people, what makes them tick. And so when you put those two together, what makes creative people tick? Because I think creative people understand each other, but not creative people don't understand creative people.
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of a little bit what I want to do, is like kind of like be the middleman between the two. And again, translate. Okay, David Jones is saying all of these things about all these awesome things that he does, but I'm thinking of a specific client for a specific a specific CMO for a client that I used to manage their company for. She wasn't a creative person, and that's not a flaw to her.
Right.
But she was in a creative industry, and I think if you understand the people better, you understand why they make the decisions that they do, and that informs the work that they're making for you.
Yep.
So that's the creative side. The businessman side of me is like, I need a way for people to constantly be seeing me and to be top of mind. What's a way that I can do that isn't super salesy, is a way for me to just kind of like be around and show like a level of strategic thinking and problem solving and creativity. Oh, here's this podcast that I've tried to do 3 times.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll work this time.
It's a great platform to check some of those boxes that we both have just admitted we're not great at.
Yeah.
You're not having to do that. Hopefully one day there will be millions of people watching.
Sure.
But you're not having to do that in front of them.
Yeah.
They're not sitting right there. You know what I mean?
Well, and I actually had this conversation with someone. As a reformed introvert, one of the things I love about this show is it's a way for me. I don't like being in the spotlight.
Yeah.
But I like having control of the spotlight.
It's fair.
And this is a way for me to have control of the spotlight. In this case, thanks for sitting in the chair by putting it on you.
My mom nailed it. She said, we were having a conversation about the way I was with certain things, and she's like, you don't want attention. You just want credit.
Yeah. That's it.
I love it.
That's it. I don't want
that summed me up to a T, and I was like, damn, Mom, you got it.
You got it. Maybe you did give birth to me.Maybe you do like, maybe I am your son because you got it. Yeah. But no, that's a great way of saying it, because I think about that. Like one of the things that's involved with church, like I just spoke in church on Sunday, and like, I don't want the attention. I just want people to appreciate the work that I put into it.
Yeah.
Same thing with, ultimately that's kind of why I left the variable, was I didn't feel like I was getting that anymore.
That's fair.
And I also saw my life becoming an editor, which if I never have to touch a video edit again, I'll be the happiest camper. But for you, my friend, I'll do takeoff monkey edits for you all day.
Right, buddy.
Which, by the way, I didn't do them. Christina did them.
I
just created.
That's why I called you. You're the guy to get it done.
Yeah.
Man.
So, but yeah, it's. I didn't expect to like this show as much as I do, but hearing you say like this is the most Jerald thing ever, I'm like, all right, cool. Like,
yeah,
the market is responding. Maybe not on the social platforms, but every time I talk to someone, they're like, dude, I'm really enjoying your podcast.
Yeah.
And like this idea of
people pay attention.
Yeah. And I'm starting to discover this idea that like the engagement and influence may not be on the platform. It might be in real life. Because like I was on a call with Chris Wallen from Napa, because there's some like organic social stuff he might want me to cut. And he was like, oh yeah, and by the way, dude, I love your podcast. Like I haven't made it through all the episodes, but I see the short clips and everything that's on there is like really insightful. And I'm like, you're like the 4th person to say that to me in a month.
It's good, dude.
But the metrics on the show are awful.
You'll get there. You got to start somewhere.
But I'm starting to realize though, is like, I'm not doing it for the metrics. I'm doing it because I enjoy having this conversation.
Yep.
And I just want to have like
makes it way easier.
This conversation, I just want to have this as much as I can with as many people as I can, to the point where like the person before you that I just had on, total stranger. Had talked to them like maybe once or twice.
I was going to ask you how that goes potentially, like with total strangers. It'd be different, right?
The episodes are a little shorter or a little longer. Sorry, longer, because I have to spend about 30 minutes getting to know them. But like in your case, like I already know you, so we can just jump in and get going.
We go back.
So yeah. Well, cool, man. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I'm good, man. This has been fun.
Hey, likewise.
I had no idea what to expect. I didn't come in with anything. I didn't come prepared. You can edit the crap out of me if you want.
I kind of do that on purpose because I have an idea of where I want to go, and 9 times out of 10, I usually end up in a different. We end up in a different place because there's another ingredient involved, and so. So just to close up real fast, what's the best place for people to find you if they want to find David Jones or WizKid or Roadworthy? Where are the best places?
All over the place, man. I'm usually wandering around downtown Winston around lunchtime. You can grab me then. That's the first one.
Downtown Delhi.
𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿𝐿.com, roadworthycarclub.com. Those are the places we are online. So
right on. All right. Well, this has been 𝐿𝐶𝐭 and Ember. Appreciate you all hanging out. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks.